On this episode of Tell Us a Story.
That is your choice. Think of us as your adult guidance counselors. Go to the balcony and see your life, because up close on that one problem, it gets a little murky, right? You have to meet people where they are. It's an ebb and flow. It's like you can have a good run and then life hits you and you're like, I'm back here again. I really give you the tools to build your house, right? And build your marriage house the way that fits you, because we are so unique. Problems may look different in the creation of them, but feelings are universal. And so pain is pain, right? No matter how I got the pain.
Yep.
I know pain, right? I know loss. I was dedicated to my mom who passed away 22 years ago. That's when I gave to her, because it was like my opening. I asked my husband, how do you experience me?
Welcome to Tell Us a Story, the podcast by Belmont City Press, where entrepreneurs and sales professionals share their journeys, insights, and strategies for success. In each episode, our guests reveal how they've overcome challenges, established their brands, and leveraged their stories to promote their businesses so you can too. I'm Red Hilton, your host for this episode. Today, I am joined by Natalie Lamb, owner of It's Your Choice. Natalie, tell us a story.
Hi, at It's Your Choice, we have a finger on the pulse of what it is to just be human. Think of us as your adult guidance counselors. We become co-creators with you with a specific purpose to live a more enriched life. Our ideal client is those who want to embrace the simplicity of being human and then infuse that with freedom, purpose, and love. We know that applying wisdom and ingenuity and patience and change, right, will help you embrace your unique way of being to create the life that you desire. We help you kind of sort out the puzzle pieces, right, of your personal life, of your relationships, so that you can see a clear picture of what you have. And then from there, with vision and clarity, we create the life you desire to have. And you can discover more about us at www.natalielamb.me. And we can easily be reached at our contact section on our website. So reach out to us so that we can help you embrace being human and living well.
That's fabulous. Thank you for sharing. I will make sure to put all of your contact information in the show notes so anyone can find you there. But talk to me about what it means about being human and who it is that you find is coming to you and what their goals and priorities are and how you get them to where they need to be.
So, my philosophy of being human is really being able to embrace the vast differences of what it is to being human, to embrace that we have these range of emotions that go all over the place, right? I don't say bad or good emotions. I believe we have emotions that become soft, right? And the soft emotions are the ones we kind of try to steer away from, but they are the meat of who we are. There's so much material in the soft emotion. If we can go into it, if we can allow ourselves to be that vulnerable, even just within ourselves, right? And so embracing our humanity is embracing all of who we are. It is being okay with some weaknesses, is being okay with our frailty. It's being okay with being ignorant at times and not knowing, and then getting to the place of knowing, because without embracing ignorance, you never know what you need to go in and research and learn and grow from. I also believe that the core of who we are, we need relationships, and our relationships look different. They look varied, but we believe in our relationships as being our greatest wealth. And when I can put my focus on first the relationship I have with me, and then my relationships with everyone else around me, is where I start creating the life that I think we most desire. And then everything else becomes gravy, right? And so, people that come are people that are looking, they are searching, they know something is a little out of whack, right? Sometimes it's a small thing out of whack. Sometimes it's just, repositioning yourself and seeing things more clear. Sometimes it's heavier. It's the marriage is not working and you want it to work and you can't figure out why. Sometimes it's parenting and how do I get my child to be where I know I want them to be, right? And help them to become the human that we want them to fully be, right? And then sometimes it's the heaviness of grief. And how do I navigate through this taboo subject of grief that nobody wants to talk about, right? That changes your world, that your worldview becomes different. So how do we change the worldview, holding on to the essence of who we are, but also allowing ourselves to be changed by the things that come? Because I think sometimes we have these things that happen, right? The big pivotal moments that happen. And my aim is to get back to who I was, right? Let me grab back her or him. And you realize that the going back is not actually where you need to go. It's the moving forward, right? It is
Moving
taking
through
the pieces of all that you are and then being able to create again, because we are creators at the essence of who we are. And we have the power to create, and the power to create is through each choice that we make. Right? So our choices are our creation. And that when I start giving power to each choice and understanding that each choice changes the pivot of my life, right? That I then start being more mindful of the choices that I'm taking. So when I have clients, that's where I want them to, I always tell them to go to the balcony, right? Go to the balcony and see your life, because up close on that one problem, it gets a little murky, right? I see all the little spots and the little dashes and all the little cuts. But when I'm able to elevate to the balcony, then I'm seeing how it all plays out. I'm seeing my role. I'm seeing everybody else's role, and I'm seeing the problem's role. And then from there, I can start creating solutions that aren't just so small and pinpoint, but I'm also able to create the bigger solutions. And that tends to get us in that moving forward mode instead of stuck right here where we are sometimes.
Moving forward is usually the most difficult part. Talk to me about, there are ranges of emotions, as you said. Nothing's good, nothing's bad. I always say that, anger is a secondary emotion, which it's fueled by, fear or embarrassment or guilt or that sort of thing. When most people are coming to you, what do you think the essence or I don't want to say the most common emotion they're dealing with is, but what is it you are seeing that people are struggling with the most?
So anger is the top emotion, right? It's the safest one because we stay in power when we're angry. Never have to lend it to something else. So anger becomes, where people kind of can hold on to. My job is to help you see the iceberg underneath the anger. Is to be able to pinpoint all of the different emotions that go with the top emotions that we often can articulate, right? Even with as happy, right? What are the emotions that are underneath happy? Because it is a gamut of different feelings. Satisfied, right? Feeling like you're productive. It's a calm, it's a peace, it's all these other emotions that are often attached, right? So when people come, generally they feel some anger sometimes, depending on what happened. Grief often brings anger. And so with grief, you always are dealing with that top layer often of anger, but it's also fear, because it's the fear of, what will my life be now that XYZ is gone, right? What role do I play now that I'm no longer in this role when my persons were there, right? So it is being able to kind of broaden it all and being able to see, where should I put it? Because if we mislabel the emotion, then I sometimes apply the wrong salve that I should be applying. So the proper language matters. And a lot of what we talk about in our sessions is language. Because
language around describing your emotions and how you're feeling and how you're interacting with others.
Yes. And so language around how you even describe yourself.
Okay.
Right. So language is like the wrapping of everything. And if I don't use the proper language, then language also creates emotion. Right. So, like if I say that's a bad emotion to have versus that's acceptable and it's just a soft place, instead of a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it different and I'm approaching it different.
Mm-hmm.
And so the approach to things really does matter. And often our approach is dictated by the language we've attached to it.
So people's approaches, one of the things I always like to ask people is, some common misconceptions with what it is that you do. And then how do you address that with your clients? If they're coming to you and saying, this is what I need, but I don't know how to get there. What is it that they maybe have as a misconception with what it is that you do and your ability to sort of be that bridge from conception to execution in what it is that they need and where they need to be?
Yeah, so I'm a life coach, I'm a relationship coach, I'm an educator, right? I do grief groups, like I do those things, right? I always let people know I'm not here to diagnose you because that's not my role.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to help you see as all the puzzle pieces of your life, right? And if we can see where all the puzzle pieces are, we can start connecting them.
Mm-hmm.
When you connect the puzzle pieces, you get a full picture of what your life is now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to meet you where you are initially. So we have to see the picture, right? So it is those first sessions of putting the puzzle pieces together so that we can understand what your life is. And then from what it is, it's creating what you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also based in reality. It's not fanciful because I don't believe we live in fantasy.
Right.
So I want to give people a practical, applicable approach to how you accept your life, how you change your life, and how you give yourself grace and mercy throughout life. Because we sometimes are too hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. We are too hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you measure success in your business? Because I feel like if you're successful, people no longer need you. Do you feel like you've hit the pinnacle that you've achieved the minute they're like, peace out?
Oh, that's a big part of it, right? It is. I tell them my job is to give you wings. And at some point in time, you got to let the wings start working for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fly away. But the other part of it is, but I'm always here. Mm-hmm. Because there's going to come times again when your wings don't feel like they're flapping as hard as you want them to. And so you come back and we readjust the wings and you go back, right? So you become this stationary place for people,
mm-hmm.
the place of safety,
mm-hmm.
right?
It's a soft place to fall.
A soft place to fall, right? Mm-hmm. And so I want people to leave. I don't want them to stay forever. My job is to get you where you need to go, but within the time frame that you need. So I am here until you don't need me anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Because I want you to go explore. I want you to use the skills that I give you in the real world, sometimes without a safety net. Mm-hmm. How scary that is, but knowing I'm always here. Mm-hmm. So it becomes like, how do you measure success? It is in like, the intricacies of people's life, of seeing them smile again, of seeing them feel like they're hopeful again, of feeling powerful again. Mm-hmm. And as we know, life's. So it's an ebb and flow. It's like you can have a good run and then life hits you and you're like, I'm back here again, right? And so it is this place where you keep coming back to. And the hope is, like, as an educator, because I teach a lot of classes too, that you keep coming to keep learning, right? And that I drop enough seeds in you for you to be a lifelong learner, not just a right now problem solver. I want it to be continuous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your classes, are those in person or online? Talk to us about what it is that you help share with people.
So I have in person. I mean, we had to take off from the in person during the whole COVID thing. Mm-hmm. Which, I love in person way more than I love online, just because I like the energy and interaction of in person. But online works well. We still get the information out there. So it's a dual. It's in person. It's online. I have found now that online actually works better because we have learned to wrap our lives around the comfort of sometimes just being home and being able to carve out space to learn instead of the drive and the hustle and the bustle and the kids. And, so it works really beautifully. I also have digital courses that I have on the website that stay there. One is called How to Be a Better Human. And that one is free for everyone. They can go there and see that.
And that's natalielamb.me is where they can find these courses.
Correct. And you just
excellent
course link and you'll see those. And then also I have Uniquely Yours, which is a marriage course that teaches you how to create the unique marriage you need. So it's not a cookie cutter. It's not where you go in and I tell you, this is what it looks like. This is how it has to be. I really give you the tools to build your house, right? And build your marriage house the way that fits you, because we are so unique and we have all been raised different. And so when you talk about marriage, you're talking about joining two very separate worlds, not just two people, but their whole worlds together to make it function and grow. And so the reality of what that looks like, removing the fantasy, removing movies, removing the fairy tale of everyone coming to save us. It really is just a human approach to how do we interact as husband and wife, as man and woman, and take a lot of the fluff off. It gives you the tools and tactics you need in order to build what you want to create.
That is profound. Now, I'm a book girl. I love my books. Talk to me about your book, where people can find it, what they're going to learn from it, who you think can benefit from it, like kind of bring us through what brought you to writing your book and then what your intention is with it.
So my books are the Wisdom Chronicles. There will be 6 books in total. Right now I have 2 published. The first one is called Open Your Eyes. And that one really is for everyone. Okay. It really is just this thing of coming to and seeing things that we sometimes don't want to see, right? Without vision, I cannot change. Without clarity of my vision, it's very hard for me to know where I need to pivot, change, grow, except where I am, because sometimes we're in lovely places, right? It's not always a work that has to be some done. Sometimes it's just being and just being human and staying in that space, right? So Open Your Eyes is a book of wisdom. It's I don't like to call it really advice, but you can say advice. But there's wisdoms of living. It is ways to change the way you see your world, right? It's based in character and integrity and principles and really grounding, right? Really foundational of how you can say, I like this principle to live by, right? I like this way of seeing the world. And they are written in a way that, a couple of pages may really resonate with you right now, but I can promise if you go back in 6 months, you'll read some more that you'll say, oh man, I missed that. And they really will grow with you. It is something that you can see. Again, you go to the balcony, you can see it from very different vantage points of kind of things that you can implement into your life. So that's the first one, Open Your Eyes. And that one I actually wrote originally, like 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I sat down and my brain, the way it works, things come in like sentences, 2 or 3 sentences at a time. And it's just the way it works, right? And so I wrote the core of this book in one night. Wow. I literally just sat there and things just poured out of me and I just typed it out, right? When I decided to publish it, of course, I added to it because it wasn't like a full book. It was just my musing around and creating wisdoms that I often do just to give out to other people. So that one, when I gave it, and that was dedicated to my mom who passed away 22 years ago. That's when I gave to her because it was like my opening of everything. So she is my muse always to pull me through everything. The second book is called What I Want You to Know. And that book I wrote over the lifespan of my daughters. And it was kind of prompted from my mom passing that I was like, oh my God, if this happens to my girls, I want them to have these wisdoms to carry with them throughout their life, because they're not going to take it at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're going to be things that they're going to need as they grow. So literally wrote it on my phone, that as life was happening, I would just jot down little things I wanted them to know. If I saw something on the news, I was like, okay, you have to apply this to your life. I want you to see it this way. And that's really where that book was written. And I gave it to my daughter, my oldest, when she went away to college, packaged it and gave it to her. And then when I decided to publish the first one, I was like, oh, I should publish this one too, because there's so many things that I feel like so many people don't get in the upbringing, because sometimes as parents, we're so concentrating on right now that we're trying to get them through the day, through each challenge that comes through. Okay, don't do that, do this. I'm trying to balance my career, and if I'm married, my relationship, and then life and all those things. That is just this wonderful book of wisdoms that I think every parent wants their child to have. And then it's the wisdom if you didn't get it, right? So, you know, the target audience with that is really, look, it's broad, like 20 to 40, because, you know, we always keep needing to be parented throughout our lives. We need somebody that's like, hey, don't do that, or hey, pick this thing up. Is one of those. And what I want you to do is also written so that they can add their wisdoms, because I want the people that read it to realize how much wealth we have inside of us. That if I just pause and think, I can add to my own story. And so I want to help you write your story. I want you to figure out what your grounding force is, because I think a lot of times we don't have grounding forces. We're just floating in the air and we're everywhere, and you need anchors. Yes. You know, sometimes we don't talk about it enough, I think, nowadays, but you need anchors to hold you down. You need something that becomes, you know, where I'm never going to move from this thing. And that's what I hope to give when people read that they say, hey, I can ground myself here. And this can be something that I hold with me for forever and continue to build upon, you know, because like the art of wisdom is that it is always true, but it's also very flexible. So when you're able to be flexible with it and see it from different angles, you're able to apply it in different stages of your life. And that's the hope of the books.
That's fabulous. How is it you became so, I don't want to say omniscient, but how is it that you started to have this clarity and able to communicate it to people? What was your journey to get to this point?
So, you know, it's crazy because the journey started when I was like 15. 15 or so.
Which is just a few weeks ago, people.
Just a few weeks ago, right? My father's was a pastor. And
okay. All right.
Message he taught about you can ask God for wisdom. And I don't know why that struck me at 15, but for some reason it struck me, right? And I have been asking for wisdom and guidance since then. And so just the way, you know, how life does life, right? And my sisters are older than me, so all their friends would always be at our house. We had like everybody come over and chill house. So my older sisters their friends would come, and somehow we would always start talking, to the point that they would come just to see me, even when my sisters weren't there. And we're just talking life, and somehow I'm giving them stuff, and they're like, oh, that's really good. And so from there, it kind of just morphed into moving. And then when I decided to go to college, I knew I wanted to really help young people. I wanted to help children. And I realized that to help children, I also have to help adults, because the adults are the ones that affect the children. And then my whole practice mainly became about adults, because though I do see children here and there, just how it's connected to family. So that aspect, but I started really focusing on adults so that they can change the way that they're able to deal with children. And that was really the fullness of my perspective, because I started teaching parenting classes right when I got out of college. I got certified for that. And then I got certified to teach personal development courses. And then from there, everything morphed, right? Then I started doing premarital, and I started doing marriage, and then just the whole gamut of life, right? And with that, you just learn how to, my one thing that I gave myself was I would never be a hypocrite.
Okay.
So when I research and learn and listen to other people's lives, I want to be not just a voice for them to have change, but I also want to embody it. And not that everything affects or is the same for every person,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be my own client first. And I want to make sure that I'm not giving out fables, that is something tangible, that is real, that literally can change your life. Because look, I bit off this apple and
Mm-hmm.
it's something for me. I think it's how you give off with authenticity and with passion and with compassion. Because sometimes I think you can have passion for something, but you lack the compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And the compassion is what makes me be able to identify with whomever's in front of me. We are the same, right? It's at a human level.
Sure.
We are the same. And so
Absolutely.
problems may look different in the creation of them, but feelings are universal. And so pain is pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? No matter how I got the pain,
Yep.
I know pain, right? I know loss. I know feeling disenfranchised. I know feeling like I'm not adequate. I know these feelings and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed of them. So if I'm not ashamed and embarrassed, I can give others permission to not be ashamed and embarrassed. And so, again, my life is an example. And Lord knows it's not perfect, right? Because I hate that word with a passion. I think it's something we have put on ourselves to make ourselves feel less than.
Which
And
word do you hate the most?
perfect.
Perfect. I always say strive for excellence, not perfection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because it's like it's something you never can obtain, right? There's no
absolutely not.
perfection unless we start rewriting definitions, right?
Well,
Which I believe we can, because I believe that, we are the creator of our definitions too: success and excellence and happiness and what a good marriage is and what good parent. I do think we create definitions around it, right?
mm-hmm.
But I think that you can only do that when you live in the space of allowing yourself of just being, right? And not saying that I have to perform
Mm-hmm.
a human, that I get to be a human.
Your perfection is the life that you're living now. You're in the space where you're supposed to be. And I think when we give away our power and we sort of, project onto other people sort of what we think they think we should be doing, that's when we start to feel less than, and our life is not perfect because someone else doesn't think it is. And knowing, what someone else thinks of me is not my business, and that sort of thing. So keeping it close and keeping it within inside, the four walls of your house or the four walls of your heart, on exactly what it is that is perfect for you in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think the biggest challenge people are facing right now coming out of the pandemic? There was a large sense of loss in many things, and socialization, and people lost people, their lives were lost and relationships suffered and that sort of thing. In the work that you're doing, where do you think the biggest challenge people are facing right now lies?
I think a lot of it's connection,
Okay.
that we lost how to connect to one another. And I think it started before the pandemic, but I think the pandemic really intensified disconnection. And I think we still are struggling to connect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that impacts relationships, that impacts jobs, that impacts me, right, individually, because as humans, we need connection.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we want to be self sufficient and I don't need anyone and nobody else matters, it's just me. That's not how we were created,
Well, that's a trauma response usually. Don't you
Absolutely.
agree? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's learning back how to connect to people.
Mm-hmm.
How do I keep people important to me? And not see that as a weakness. We've
Mm-hmm.
almost made it a weakness to need others, right? To be interdependent on each
Mm.
other, because there's a certain amount of interdependence that is required to be in relationships. That
Sure.
I acknowledge that I actually want you here, that I need you here, that my desire is to always have a connection to you,
Mm.
is in a vulnerable place, right? And I think we are so uncomfortable with vulnerability that it really takes away our ability to connect, because I don't connect to you through perfection or you being the highest of success or whatever. I connect to you on the real that we have in common. And that commonness is the beauty of humanity.
Do you think that our loss of connection stems from, we're bringing kids up to sort of be self-sufficient and, be their own persons and sort of reject that whole community takes a village sort of thing? Do you think that sort of stems from, if we peel back the onion, obviously, coming from their parents and then, their need that weren't met, and then being able to only give so much. And then it's sort of like that sort of generational sort of, I need you to take care of you because I need to take care of me because my needs weren't fulfilled. And we're sort of passing that down to our kids. And that's sort of like when you said adult guidance counselor, and it was sort of like, it's sort of like somebody isn't done raising the adults that we have right now.
Yeah. To a great degree. Mm-hmm. I think that how we parent always is some reflection of who we are, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it takes a huge leap to parent, not just from our inadequacies or what we didn't get, but to be able to step back and say, what does this little human need in order for them to succeed? That's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. to be able to separate myself and then me as the parent. Most of us struggle with that duality, right? And then throw in, if you're married, then I'm a spouse too. And then I'm a worker too.
So that's then 4 people you need to be.
Right? Yeah. And it's like jumping from roles, but then I'm also not healed. I'm also holding all of these things inside of me. And where do I go to really say, this is the truth of my reality? And not in a way where I have to be fixed, but in a way that it says, you know what? This common space of being human, right? Of this generational thing of my grandparents lived a life that I'll never know about.
Yeah.
Right? Never know how to step in their shoes and walk through it. My parents lived a life that I actually don't know about, right? That I wasn't privy to before I came. Now I'm experiencing the life of my grandparents that has been imposed on my parents that now is imposed on me. And if we don't give ourselves space to unravel all of that, then what it becomes almost is a blame game. You messed me up. You didn't give me this. I'm now inadequate in that. But I never get to, but what did I need?
Right.
What did I need in order for me to feel like I'm fully okay to be me? Right. And so when I can tap into that, then I'm able to tap into that to give to my kids. And then the connection thing starts looking much easier. The lack of community that we now live in is scary. Because if everyone doesn't matter, then that means I can treat anybody any old kind of way, right? And I take their humanity away from them. If we step back and see how we've taken humanity away from all the different sects that we don't like and all the different sects that we disagree with. If I remove your humanity, then I give myself permission to treat you any way that I feel you deserve. Correct. Right?
You can't remove the human experience from being human, and it's sort of like, trying to explain to someone, that's sort of struggling with, narcissism or being selfish or self-absorbed or, putting themselves first, and kind of their relationships and communication with other people failing to recognize that everything that you want, someone else wants for themselves as well. And when you have like sort of that intersection where somebody is not allowing themselves to dovetail with somebody else and bring relationships together and lives intertwined, because you want to have like that pecking order where I'm important because I need to fill this need that I didn't have as a child, or I, didn't experience. Well, unfortunately, what ends up happening is you're just sort of repeating the cycle, and you're not filling that void in, for your kids or your spouse or, the other people in your community.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why the power of choice is so powerful.
Mm.
It's like a gift and a curse, right?
Right.
The fact is that all the time we're choosing. Even when we don't choose, we're choosing.
Right.
So choices always are being made. If I can recognize that just in the power of choosing, I have the ability to change anything in my life, right? For the good or the bad,
right?
I have that power, and I think we don't use it well enough.
Do you think we give our power away too much?
I think we give our power away because we don't want to be responsible.
That's fair.
Right? And I think it makes us, well, I don't have to be accountable for what happened.
Well, I think accountability over responsibility. I think that's
yeah. And it's deciphering between responsibility and accountability, because they're very different.
Yeah.
And I can take accountability of my role, of what I've done, no matter what percentage it is. I still am the constant of everything in my life.
Absolutely.
Right? Every relationship I have, everything I have, I stand in the center. And so if I can empower myself to say, but I stand in the center, that my choices affect me, and that at any time I can change my choices, then I'm able to move. And that even if other people's choices impact my life, I still have the power to choose how I respond. I still have the power to choose how much I let other people affect me, right?
Having agency in your own life.
Having agency, but that doesn't have to make you selfish.
No.
Right? It doesn't have to make you discard other people. It's that I get to take care of me fully, but that doesn't mean that I have to mistreat other people. And I think that message sometimes has gotten a little lost in the self-care and the self-love and the self, is that we forgot that, but I'm still attached to other people.
When you win, that immediately implies that someone else loses. Right. And maybe winning is not the objective.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. And so I think that's where you start deciding what your principles and your foundation is. Right. And you are defining what winning is. You see, because if winning for me is having a good sense of self, that I can always go back and look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of you. Right. And the days that I look in the mirror and say, dang, you screwed up, I can take full accountability of my mess without projecting it onto anyone else. But I'm able to sit with it and say, girl, you could have did that better. Or you could have got that better. Or you mistreated that person. Right? I don't care what they did. That's not the point right now. I'm just taking a look at me. And we don't do enough mirror work without projecting out to everybody else. Right? And so when we can learn to be comfortable with our missteps, our mistakes, and our choices, because sometimes our bad choices are choices. Like, they weren't a mistake. It wasn't haphazard. You chose that fully, and
with your full chest, you made that decision.
Own that.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, look how empowering that will be to give to your kids.
Well, I think we're back to accountability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, that's the foundation.
Right. Absolutely. So tell me, what is your Monty? What is something, that has meaning to you? One or two words, a phrase, a mantra that our listeners can take away from our chat today that, could be for self-reflection or inspiration, or a reminder of a lesson learned that you sort of carry through as a through line, as a thread through, the stories and the journey that you're taking.
The biggest thing that I carry is learn how to pause.
Learn how to pause?
Pause.
Okay.
Not
What does that
react,
mean?
to not react too fast, to
Okay.
take time to digest what has just happened
Mm-hmm.
before I make a step onto the next one.
You
I
mean
don't want
firing
my
off?
choices to be
Right. So when you're get an email and you fire off an email before you put your ducks in a row and figure out exactly X, Y, and Z and how you really want to handle it and perhaps what you should say and approach it.
yeah, I do a lot of like with that. I type out the fierceness
Mm.
and I say that's not what you want to give. Let me go back because each word has something else attached to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm mindful that what I give out, I will get back. I do live with the idea of reaping and sowing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I believe in planting the seeds that I want to sow, even if people don't deserve good seeds. I want to be one that plants good seeds because I want to reap good stuff.
And that what you do is a reflection of you, not the other person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So spend a minute with me right now so we can get to know you a little bit better, sort of the Natalie behind the Natalie. And so we'll just do some rapid fire. I'm going to say a few things. You tell me what you think and how you feel so everybody knows where you stand on the important and possibly controversial subjects. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Movies or TV shows?
Oh, because series are so good now. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the TV show.
All right. You're removing the rapid from the rapid fire. That's all I'm saying.
I know it, right?
First one. First one. We did it. Big party or small gatherings?
Small gatherings.
Okay. All right. Classic or modern?
Modern.
Short hair or long hair?
Short.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
better with short hair, but I love long hair, but my hair is not for long hair. Concert or theaters?
Theaters.
Theaters. All right. Morning or evening?
Oh, evening.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I'm a morning girl myself. Spicy or mild?
Mild.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I agree. We can hang out. Let's see. Do you like Disney or Pixar?
Disney. No,
Really?
Pixar.
I think Pixar's cuter. And
Is
I
it
think I
cuter?
is it what?
It's cuter.
I think it's cuter. I think it's
Yeah.
cuter. I know Disney's classic and all that sort of thing. Pen or pencil?
Pen.
Pen. Right, 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 right. All right, one more. How about reading or writing?
Writing.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Even as a writer myself, I think I would pick reading. I
Oh,
love to learn. You know what I mean? So I think, obviously you learn a lot when you write, but you read to learn most of the time or
absolutely. They
create.
go hand in hand, though, don't they?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
go hand in hand.
All right. So time for our guest to guest questions. So the guest previous to you left behind a question for you to answer during your show tonight. So are you ready? What is a promise you made to yourself that you kept?
Not to be a hypocrite.
Okay. All right. Well, that was quick and easy, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it's. I can give you so many more,
Yeah.
but that is like my number one is not to be a hypocrite.
Walk
And
the walk, talk the talk.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, and to be after I created this after my mom passed was to be courageous and brave,
Mm-hmm.
and I have done that. And
What
I
does
hope
being courageous and brave mean to you?
to me it really means that having that passion and drive and that knowing, that intuition and following through on it, even if I have to reap some repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
Because staying true to me matters so much and how I'm able to move through the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if I get harmed and I get left behind or I get discarded, if I know I was true to me and I did what I felt was right, I can live with all the other repercussions because I can look myself in the mirror and be okay.
Was your mom's passing a pivotal pivotal time in your life?
It was everything. It
Was it?
changed my entire world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how I move, how I think, how I was able to gain strength.
Mm-hmm.
She was such a amazingly loving person.
Mm.
I've never met anybody love as pure as she loved. I don't know how she did it, but it was just her essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was the net. She like you knew no matter what happened, she was gonna be that soft place to fall.
Mm.
So with her passing, it was like I'm hitting the ground now. I have no one to catch me. I have nowhere to fall. I do believe fully and completely in God, but I still needed a person, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my person, right? And from there, I said I have to create, right? And that's where Is Your Choice came from, was really the creation of me honoring her and the courage and the bravery that was connected even with me stepping out and trying something, you know, on my own, and then something to give to my girls to see
Mm.
that no matter how hard life hits, you take the knee. And I believe fully in taking the knee, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take the knee as long as you need to take it, but you do get back up again.
Mm.
And you keep going forward. And with this, I have shown my girls that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that you keep going, even when you take the knee, but you have the courage and bravery to believe in yourself
Mm-hmm.
to
What is
keep
the
going.
number one thing that you carry in your heart from your mom?
Love and to give it out where people feel it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just say I'm loving, but they experience me as a loving person. And so, like, even with my girls, I ask them all the time throughout their lives, how do you experience me? I
Mm-hmm.
ask my husband, how do you experience me? Right? Because their experience of me tells me
Mm-hmm.
if I'm loving them the way they need to be loved. Because it's not my definition of love when I'm giving it out to other
Correct.
people. It's making sure I can meet their definition of what love to the best of my ability,
Sure.
you know?
I think you have picked up where your mom left off, and I think you're carrying her with you, and she's on this journey with you, because I can tell just in talking to you and meeting with you and the time we've spent together that who you are is a genuine person.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. So one more time, where can people experience you and all that you have to offer? Lay it out for us.
So my website is www.natalielamb.me. And
Mm-hmm.
you can also pick up my courses at www.iyconline.com.
And IYC is the acronym for It's Your Choice. So
Absolutely.
IYC.com for your courses. And one of them you said was free.
Yes.
And okay. And then the connections, how do they find your book? They're available everywhere.
Yes.
And what
Amazon,
are
all of those.
the titles again?
The Wisdom Chronicles,
Okay.
Open Your Eyes, and as well as What I Want You to Know.
When do we expect the third one out?
The third one is written.
Okay.
It is together. And I am trying to get enough footing, if I'm being honest with you, on these first two.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of pivoting from there, because the next four are really based on It's Your Choice, which is change, patience, ingenuity, and wisdom. And so each book is titled that holds and houses those different elements in them. So I want to kind of have those flow out together. And then the last one will be a journal of you writing your own wisdoms as you gather life.
Perfect. Well, Natalie, my friend, it has been amazing with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, your insights with us today. I appreciate your time. It's extremely valuable, and I hope I honored that here today.
Absolutely. It was lovely. Thank you.
To our listeners, if you have a story to share, visit tellasastorypodcast.com. If you're an aspiring author, a seasoned business owner, or looking to elevate your personal brand, visit BelmontCityPress.com for expert advice on writing your own success story. Trust the next chapter, because you are the author. Now, tell us a story.